Most people your age are still figuring out what they want to do with their lives. Laura Wilson was already running a farm, building a brand, and carrying the weight of 5 generations, all before she turned 25. But the story of Laura Farms isn't just about a young woman who went viral for driving a tractor. It's about a 115-year-old family legacy sitting on her shoulders, a grandfather who gave her everything and then was suddenly gone, insurance companies that left her out to dry, and an internet that tried to tear apart everything she built. What makes Laura's story different from every other farming channel on YouTube is that none of it was planned. She didn't set out to become famous. She didn't move to a city, create a brand strategy, or pitch herself to sponsors. She went back home to Nebraska during a pandemic, climbed into a tractor, filmed it on her iPhone, and somehow the world couldn't look away. At 24, Laura Wilson has already faced the kind of losses and battles that most people don't encounter until they're twice her age. And what she's had to carry, quietly, out in those fields, is a story most of her 500,000 subscribers have never fully heard. The story of Laura Farms doesn't start with a viral video. It starts in 1910, when a family packed up everything they had in Sweden and crossed an ocean to start over in Nebraska. Laura's great-great-grandparents arrived with almost nothing, settled in Hamilton County, and broke ground on what would become Carlson Farms. With a few John Deere tractors and land that didn't care how tired you were, they started building something that was meant to last. And it did. Over the next several decades, the farm grew into a 2,000-acre irrigated row crop operation: corn, soybeans, wheat, and cattle. Then came Laura's grandfather, Kurt. He left Nebraska as a young man to serve in Vietnam as a Navy Seabee, the military's construction and engineering force. When he came home, he didn't walk away from the land. He built on it. He started a hog operation that eventually expanded into full cattle herds by the late 1980s. By the time Laura was born in 2001, Carlson Farms wasn't just a family business. It was a 4-generation institution with deep roots and even deeper expectations. Growing up in that environment, farming wasn't presented as a career option. It was just life. The only question was whether Laura would choose to carry it forward. Growing up on a farm doesn't automatically make you a farmer. Plenty of kids raised on the land walk away the first chance they get. For most of her childhood, Laura was focused on academics and sports, detasseling seed corn in the summers, showing pigs at fairs, doing what farm kids do. But it wasn't a calling yet. That changed at 13, when Laura started her own cow-calf herd. Not her dad's herd, not her grandfather's. Hers. At an age when most kids are worried about school and friends, she was learning what it meant to be responsible for something living, something that depended entirely on her showing up every single day. That experience planted something in her. But it still took years before she made the decision. It wasn't until her senior year of high school that it finally clicked, that the lifestyle the farm offered was the one she actually wanted. She enrolled at Southeast Community College for a business degree, keeping one foot in academia while the other stayed firmly in the dirt. She had a plan: finish school, ease into farming gradually, do it on her own timeline. But life on a farm, and life in general, rarely respects timelines. Something was coming that would force her hand far sooner than she ever expected. In early 2020, the world shut down. Colleges emptied out, plans collapsed, and millions of people found themselves back home with nowhere to go and nothing to do. For Laura, that moment of disruption became the starting line. She came back to Nebraska in the spring of 2020 and made a decision that would change everything. She was going to farm. Not someday. Now. Her grandfather Kurt gave her the opportunity that made it real. He rented her 160 acres, and not just any ground. One of the nicest quarters on the farm. That single act of belief from an old man who'd built his life on that same Nebraska soil gave a 19-year-old the foundation she needed to actually start. Around the same time, Laura's cousins in Texas were bored and curious about what farm life actually looked like. So she started filming, short clips from the tractor cab, quick updates from the field, nothing polished or planned. Then a producer at the Ag of the World Twitter account noticed her content and invited her to guest host their page for a week. She took the account from 13,000 followers to over 27,000 in 7 days. The response was unlike anything she'd seen. Marriage proposals, messages from around the world, farmers sharing her clips with their own communities. Something had clearly struck a nerve. And Laura was only just getting started. By the end of that week on Ag of the World, Laura realized something that made her move fast. Her tractor cab video was going viral, and if she didn't claim it on YouTube herself, someone else would. On April 25, 2020, she uploaded Inside of a Tractor Cab to a brand new channel called Laura Farms. No professional camera, no editing software, just an iPhone, a John Deere, and a 19-year-old who knew her equipment better than most people, twice her age. Within days, the video was closing in on 1 million views. It would eventually hit 1.2 million. What nobody expected, including Laura, was who was watching. It wasn't just farmers. It was city people who had never seen the inside of a tractor. It was kids writing handwritten letters saying she made them want to farm someday. It was veterans, retirees, suburban families, and people from countries that didn't even grow corn. She had accidentally tapped into something much bigger than agriculture, a genuine hunger for realness at a time when everything online felt manufactured. Brand deals followed. Pioneer Seeds came on board. Collaborations with millennial farmer Whistlin' Diesel and Cole the Corn Star expanded her reach even further. The channel grew past 500,000 subscribers with 500 million views across platforms. But behind the growth, real life kept moving, and it wasn't always easy. Most people don't meet their future spouse until their 20s. Laura met Grant Wilson in July 2016 on a CRC Canada travel camp trip. She was 15. He was a fellow farm kid with the same dirt-under-the-fingernails upbringing she had. They didn't start dating until May 2017, and what developed over the next 3 years was a relationship built on genuinely shared values: farming, faith, hard work, and a willingness to bet on themselves. When Grant finally said he loved her for the first time in June 2017, neither of them could have imagined what the next few years would bring. By August 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, a viral YouTube channel, and her first real season farming solo, Laura got engaged. 4 months later, on December 19, 2020, she married Grant in Central City, Nebraska. She was 19 years old. Grant, a sixth-generation farmer who had started working the land at just 17, wasn't just a husband. He became a full farming partner. Together, they worked 100% irrigated, acres, splitting time between their operation and Laura's growing media presence. From the outside, it looked like a fairy tale: young love, thriving farm, exploding YouTube channel. But the internet being what it is, the scrutiny came fast. Rumors, speculation, and unwanted attention became part of the package. And that was before things got genuinely hard. For all the success Laura had built by 2023, nothing could have prepared her for November of that year. Her grandfather Kurt, the man who handed her the keys to her future by renting her that first 160 acres, passed away. Laura posted about it publicly, and her words were as simple and devastating as the loss itself. "He rented me the first ground I ever farmed. When I asked if I could, he rented me one of the nicest quarters on the farm. I would not be farming without him." The man who believed in her before anyone else did was gone, and the farm that connected them both still needed to run. That grief didn't get to pause anything. On top of losing her grandfather, Laura was fighting a battle with her crop insurance company that had completely dropped the ball on a claim, ultimately totaling an entire field after failing to handle it properly. Then her hired man left mid-operation, a blow she documented openly across multiple videos because that's just how Laura handles things, honestly, on camera, in real time. And as if that wasn't enough, fake impersonator accounts began spreading across Facebook, targeting her audience with fabricated stories, including false claims about her marriage. By 2025, divorce rumors were circulating widely online, all of them completely unfounded, all of them traced back to fraudulent accounts. The farm kept going. So did she. At 24, Laura Wilson has outlasted a pandemic, buried her grandfather, fought an insurance company, lost a hired hand mid-season, and watched strangers try to tear apart her marriage with lies. And every single morning, she still wakes up before the sun, pulls on her boots, and goes back out there. That's not content, that's character. The Carlson family bet everything on Nebraska soil back in 1910, a family of Swedish immigrants who had no guarantee it would work. Over a century later, their great-great-granddaughter is still out there making it work. Some legacies aren't inherited, they're earned.